everyone, this is my evaluation project for a Title I Math Intervention program. The scope of work is to evaluate a program for a Title I school, which was recently reclassified as Title I. So now Title I funds can be used for school-wide programs for the benefit of all students. The program that was created was for a pull-out math program where a math aide was hired to assist twice a week for 30 minutes in each classroom in grades 3 through 6. The purpose and mission of the program is to increase math scores to a proficient level in low-achieving students and to provide classroom teachers with additional instructional resource. This has been only in place for about 6 months, and it is a school site-specific program. Outcomes for the program are that student math scores on targeted math standards will increase to a level of 85% or higher on CFAs, which are currently being used to measure student progress. Stakeholders in the program are classroom teaching staff, the instructional aide, students, both school site and district level administrators, as well as student families. The participants are the students themselves, as well as the teachers who are receiving instructional support. My theory of change for the program is that if the Math Instructional Aid program is implemented effectively, then participating students will receive best instructional practices in math. This will increase their understanding of math, and ultimately they will perform better in the general education classroom. The timeline for my evaluation is that it will gather data during the remainder of the school year. This data will be reviewed at end of the year PLC meetings. A determination during June and July will be made whether the program is deemed viable for continuation. And then if it is deemed viable, any changes to the program as well as a plan for the ongoing will be established prior to the 2018-19 school year. My logic model for the program, the inputs are site and district level administrators, parents themselves, GE teachers, and the math aide, the students participating in the program, curriculum, resources like manipulatives, time for the intervention, and knowledge base of the math aide, as well as budget. Outputs of the program are that it will facilitate effective communication between GE teachers and the math aide. The math aide will conduct small group math instruction. This will develop student understanding of math standards, and students will also be assessed with their progression of understanding. Short-term outcomes are increased communication skills between GE teachers and the math aide, increased student knowledge and progress of the program toward best practices. Long-term goals of the program are that students reach full proficiency in math, there is fluid communication levels between the aide and the GE teachers, and there is a full alignment of the program with best teaching practices. My evaluation design is quasi-experimental in that there is a participation and a comparison group, and both are given pre- and post-test assessments, and these assessment results are compared to one another. A quick look at each group. The participation group, students are not chosen based on anything other than their below average math test scores. They are only separated based upon grade level. The comparison group is also only chosen by low achieving students. The only difference is that they will only receive whole class instruction from the GE teacher, as well as any small group instruction the GE teacher may choose to give, but it is not a targeted intervention. My evaluation questions are as follows. What is considered when making decisions about which students will participate in the program? Do all the teachers make the same decisions based on the same standards or variables? How frequently do teachers communicate learning objectives to the math aide? How well does the math aide understand these objectives? What does the research show are the best teaching practices for math? Are these practices being utilized by the math aide? Does the math aide have access to necessary resources? What does the research show is an adequate weekly intervention time frame? And are participating students increasing in their understanding of targeted math standards? The evidence I will need to answer these questions are what are the variables used to make student selection decisions, how frequently do teachers use these standards. I need evidence of communication between teachers and math aid. I need evidence of the math aid qualifications. I need research article review on best teaching practices, evidence of these practices being used in intervention sessions, the availability of technology, curriculum, or hands-on manipulatives to the math aid, and comparison of participating student test scores to the comparison group. My processes of obtaining data are largely questionnaires and interviews. There will be observation of the math aid during instruction and journal article reviews in regards to best teaching practices, and finally some quantitative data gathering based on student artifacts. The data will be analyzed in two different ways. The qualitative data gathered from questionnaires, interviews, and surveys will be coded and look for trends. The quantitative data, based upon student artifacts like CFAs, will be analyzed and compared to proficiency levels set by the grade levels for each targeted math standard. Validity and reliability of my evaluation plan. The evaluation plan is based largely on qualitative data, so the evaluation is valid if the participating teachers and math aid respond accurately and honestly on the appropriate surveys and questionnaires. Reliability of my evaluation plan is that it uses the same levels of measurement for all participants, the same surveys are given to participating teachers, and the same CFAs are given as pre- and post-tests for both the comparison and the participating student group. Some strengths and weaknesses of my plan. Strengths are that they do use CFAs that are common to both groups. It will be rooted in research and current theory regarding best practices. The evaluation plan is reasonable. It evaluates one program at one school site. It is also relevant because the evaluation will assess how well the program is meeting the needs of low-performing students. It also has a strength, and that is that it is a quasi-experimental design that includes a comparison group. Some weaknesses are that it does rely heavily on qualitative data, which could be skewed depending on how honest participants are, and there may be too many variables involved. I am looking at program leader skills, communication, student understanding, as well as availability of appropriate resources. My results will be communicated via an emailed report to the appropriate stakeholders. This in turn will be disseminated to the participating grade level teachers. Results will be communicated to these stakeholders at the conclusion of the evaluation in June, so that ample planning and response time during the summer could be made before the following school year. Some other considerations to be made for the plan is that some constraints for the program are the time for teachers and math aides to actually effectively communicate, the willingness of them to communicate during the evaluation as well as after, how available are resources for the math aides, as well as the budget for costs. Opportunity costs also need to be looked at. Why are we choosing to spend resources on this intervention versus spending them on some other program or spending the student's time in another program? Some personal bias could be that inclusion in the program is left up to the teacher discretion, so why are they making these decisions? As well as ongoing teacher willingness to continue to communicate and plan effectively with the math aid. Finally, another personal bias is that people can make the assumption that because the program offers extra or additional instruction, this automatically makes it effective instruction. Political influences are what were the hiring basis for the math aid, and that we must provide the program because we are a Title I school, not just because the program is effective. Ethical considerations are what are the selection process? Are they being made on behavior, not academic needs? And that we need to utilize Title I funds in an effective way. We need to remember that these funds are for the purpose of low-achieving students, so they need to be participating in the program. And finally, that students, while they may become more successful in the small group, is this relating to success in the general education classroom. The following literature was reviewed during the evaluation. My research focused on best teaching practices, best qualities of mathematics teachers, as well as research on effective intervention programs.